What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about the Winnipeg Jets and their trade deadline. We're 2 days away from deadline day at the time of making this video. They went ahead, they acquired Sean Monahan for a first and a conditional third back, over a month ago now in February. It is now March, and there is still no other moves that Winnipeg has made. I still do think that there is a move coming from Winnipeg, but it may not be as exciting as maybe we all hope. I've had to take a step back from YouTube this week as I've been moving, but I am back now. But in that time, I have been reading, from Elliot Friedman, multiple sources around the insider world that, the Jets are probably going to be adding more on the edges of their lineup, not so much, a big piece to the top six or, a top pairing defenseman like a lot of us were hoping for. And it is disappointing, and it does seem like the Jets like what they have right now, and that's fair. They've gotten you this far, and it's been a good season for the Jets this year, maybe one of the better teams ever in Jets 2.0 history, so I don't think anything massive is coming. However, I do think Winnipeg may look at adding maybe a middle six forward, a guy that can play kind of in the middle of your lineup, maybe on the third line or so, and then maybe a second pairing defenseman, a third pairing defenseman, something like that. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy, but I do think they're going to add before the end of the deadline. I don't think Kevin Cheveldayoff is done. I just don't think it's going to be as big of a move as other people think. Adding a middle six forward would be big for Winnipeg, preferably a guy that can put some goals in the back of the net as well. Now, I love Alex Iafallo, and you can argue that he's that guy. However, I don't know, he's been slumping, and he cannot score the way he was scoring maybe the first 15-20 games of the season. And if we're one Gabe Vilardi injury away from Vlad Namestnikov and Alex Iafallo being your number one right winger and your number two right winger, that is not good enough. You will not win a Stanley Cup, I promise you, with those two as your top, two right wingers. I love those guys. I think they're great, but the Jets need to find a guy that can fit in the middle six on the wing. I think a guy like Jason Zucker would be great. I think he'd fit pretty well. I know Vlad Tarasenko would probably fit very well. I love Vlad Tarasenko, but he likely isn't coming here. I don't see it happening. I think that's more of a Florida move or a New York Rangers kind of move. I see a lot of people talking about Max Pacioretty. I don't know if he really fits what Winnipeg's got going on here. He's only played 25 games this year, 3 goals, 12 assists for 15 points isn't bad, but he is slowing down at 35 years old. I don't know if he's the right move for Winnipeg. I'm not really sure if he's the guy that brings it in, but maybe, I don't know. Maybe he's the guy the Jets look at. Maybe even Frank Vatrano. 61 games played, he's got 29 goals. He definitely helped Winnipeg in the goal department. He's got 48 points this season with the Anaheim Ducks. Maybe he carves himself out a second line spot, playing with Monahan and Ehlers. You could have Perfetti on the fourth line. I don't know, man, that'd be kind of fun. You have Vlad Namestnikov as your fourth line center if Gabe Vilardi is back and ready for playoffs, which I'm thinking he probably will be. And then you could have Alex Iafallo as like a 13th guy. I don't know. I think that would work fine, right? Maybe even trade Iafallo to make the cap work or something like that. Make it all work. I don't know how, they would go about it. I'm not going to speculate on trade packages or anything. But I think, Patches would be probably not the most ideal fit ever, but would be an upgrade to the middle six. I think that he'd play fine on the Lowry line. I think Frank Vatrano would be an elite goal scorer for the Jets. I think he'd definitely help out in that department. And I don't know, maybe Zucker could pop in there. I think Zucker's probably one of the more likely ones out of the bunch, but we'll see where the Jets go. I do think that a middle six winger would be ideal for them to get. We'll see if they actually do pull the trigger on it, but one spot that I do think needs an upgrade is on defense. On defense, we have had a pretty okay year for the most part. The Jets have played pretty well 5-on-5, been great defensively this season, one of the best teams in the league in the goals against department. They have been great, and you have Connor Hellebuyck as a Hart Trophy nominee this year, playing out of his mind. Just adds to it. So you could argue that the Jets don't need to touch their D, but man, has Neil Pionk been an absolute disaster in the last little while. He has not looked good. He looked okay at the beginning of the year, looked a little bit more responsible than usual, but he has been a nightmare partnered with Brendan Dillon. He's seeped back into the Neil Pionk of, old the last few seasons, and the Jets definitely need an upgrade there. The most obvious upgrade to the top four, and maybe the only top four option realistically available to Winnipeg, would be Sean Walker. It seems like Philly's tried to sign him and they just cannot get it done. It seems like there's a little bit of a disconnect. It sounds like Nick Seeler is going to be re-signed by Philly, or it's trending that way anyway as of right now. Doesn't seem like they can keep both, so it does seem like Walker will be moved before the deadline. Now, Winnipeg does have that second round pick, that early, 30s second round pick from Montreal that they got in the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade. I think that would be fine. I wouldn't have an issue at all moving that pick if I was Kevin Cheveldayoff to upgrade the top 4 defense spot. I think that would be the most ideal spot to upgrade right now, especially with Neil Pionk being in your top 4. He cannot be in the top 4. He's looked really good with Samberg anytime that he's been partnered with Samberg, but in the top 4, I just think that he cannot be there if you want to realistically have a chance at winning the Stanley Cup. Besides those players that I mentioned, I mean, there are some out there ones like Jakob Chychrun obviously would be a big splash, and I would love that to happen. Right now, it doesn't seem like there's any smoke around Winnipeg, or really anybody for that matter. I'd be a little surprised if Chychrun did move at the deadline. I feel like that would be more of an off-season thing for Ottawa, maybe once they reevaluate what they've got there. The forwards that I mentioned are probably the best of the bunch that are realistic to Winnipeg, especially without a true first-round pick, so I don't think that there's much going on there. I don't think that they're going to be adding a top 6 forward or anything like that. Maybe there's something up Chevy's sleeve, maybe he's got something going on pretty quiet, maybe a guy that we don't even know is available he's going to make a move for, I don't know. But right now it does seem like the Jets are either going to be looking at the middle 6 forward market or the, possibly top 4, but maybe bottom pairing kind of guy. So that's just kind of what I see the Winnipeg Jets doing at the deadline, and truthfully it's a little bit disappointing as a fan, because this is a year where the Jets are one of the better defensive teams in the league, maybe not so much the last month or so, but they have been one of the better teams in the league structurally, and really just adding 1 or 2 more pieces to this team I feel like could really push them a long way. If they go out and they only add some depth signings, I don't see them winning a Stanley Cup. I think they do need to add 1 more player into that middle 6. I think that would go a long way, and definitely try to upgrade the top 4 defense, because if the Winnipeg Jets are touting Neil Pionk out there on that second pairing, I don't know if that's good enough to win a Stanley Cup in a year where they're getting Hart Trophy goaltending, they have cap space, they have assets, they have picks to trade. I feel like it would be a big waste not to try to go all in here and really make a true push to win a Stanley Cup. That's just my thoughts, and that's just where I'm at with the team. Let me know down below what you guys think about the Winnipeg Jets. I want to hear your trade proposals. Who do you want the Jets to go after? Is it anybody that I mentioned in this video, or is it somebody else? Definitely name them down below. That's going to be it from me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I just moved, that's why I've been away for so long. I think I mentioned it already in this video, but definitely liking the new setup and everything I've got going on here. So schedule should be going back to normal, video should be going back to normal, and I'll have a video out Friday just kind of recapping the trade deadline. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Go Jets, go. Bye-bye.